till this day, I have yet to have a safe space with a man like I had with him. Till this day.
Where is this man
To this day.
now?
Well, I mean, I don't want to be with him. I'm just
Why?
saying. I'm
He sounds
42.
fucking amazing.
I'm 42. We were 22 through 30
Go
at that
get
time.
that old thing back, Doc.
No. There's other moving parts that just won't work.
Is he married now?
He's not. He doesn't have kids.
Whoever you are, Mr.
Nah.
Football Man, the Doc still love you. It's an honor, privilege, and a pleasure once again to be in a safe space and a brave place, to not be canceled, but to be counseled. And interestingly enough, I want to speak on this platform before we even get into our second session with someone who has set the internet ablaze and is really someone that I consider a wise and high-functioning queen. But the purpose of therapy, the purpose of counseling is to have community in a space where you can take accountability.
Right.
A place where you can speak honestly, a place where you can speak vulnerably about anything. It's a circle of trust.
Yeah.
Normally there aren't cameras around. Normally there aren't comments and people weighing in. But what I attempt to do is create a space of as authentically as possible true therapy, true counsel. So when you hear us speak here, we're speaking from a place of honesty. We're speaking of a place of vulnerability. And what's interesting that, the majority of the time I'm being counseled by a professional and an expert. But oftentimes we see our professionals and experts share and relate.
Right.
And
which is called self-disclose when it's
Yeah.
appropriate. Yeah.
And I believe that's what's happening here in our second session with Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. In our last session, we caught up, we checked back in, we created more controversy.
We did.
And you got a chance to directly speak to another psychologist, expertise and take on specifically you and who you are. From what they observed. I mean, it's interesting that you and Dr. Umar Johnson have never met before,
Right.
but you guys, have some of the same missions in life and come from the same clinician or clinical background of wanting to help heal our community, specifically in the space of mental wellness. So it's interesting, and I would love to unpack more about who Dr. Cheyenne Bryant is in that sense, because I think that's only going to help.
Well, in a therapy session, it's all about the client.
I am the client, but this is going to help me. But I think also too. And
no, I love it. Some of my clients come in with questions for me too. I'm like, go for
because
it.
even in the
go
setting,
for it. Absolutely.
From me, and I love this because even when I saw Cam's session with you,
Right.
and even other people we've seen go viral have their opinions.
Mm-hmm.
Other celebrities, other professionals have their opinions of our conversation and conversations with you and Cam. They don't know you.
Right.
And the first question is who she thinks she is, and then the things that whether they can Google or look up real quick, they hear that the key talking points of. She's single, she in her 40s, she ain't got no kids, she's been in unsuccessful relationships, and then they start to try to use that to throw darts at you.
And I love that you said that
because
I always say that a lot of people are seeking wise counsel from people who have the optics of a healthy marriage. Optics keyword, because they have 15, 20 years or 10 years of marriage. But I don't want wise counsel or marriage advice from somebody who has 15 years of marriage but 14 years of misery. I don't want that. So if I see a person who has relationship experience, but they seem to be making great decisions, they seem to be in a good place and things are working for them, I want my wise counsel from somebody who makes decisions that breeds peace, happiness, and results. Not someone that can paint an optics that looks good, again, that mansion, but that house is homeless.
Yeah.
Because you have a lot of married couples who are seeking wise counsel and marriage counseling from their pastor and first lady, and the pastor has a child outside of that marriage, or they don't understand that out of them 30 years,
Don't
it's
be
only
judging
been.
the pastor.
I'm not. No, I love pastors. Let me say, don't play. I don't. But I'm just speaking reality.
God
is
ain't
that
finished with him.
people who are seeking this wise counsel from folks who don't have wise counsel, okay, because
Yeah.
they're going off the optics,
Right.
that's a bigger problem to me.
Yeah.
Than you seeking wise counsel from someone who you're like, wait a minute, this person has wisdom.
Well,
and their
that's the-
wisdom is working for them.
Yeah, in the comments, I saw a lot of people even directly to me. They were like, Nick, don't listen to her. What she know? I've been married 25 years. Come talk to me. And or even everybody's gonna have their
Totally.
opinion and their take. But again, that's why I wanted to start this session off with the purpose of this, because it's not about what you've been through. It's
Right.
not about your merits or stripes or how much time or work you put in, because just as much as you can help me, I can help you.
Right.
And I believe a good therapist, because I've had many of them, and I've had the ones that just sit there and listen. And I'm like, oh, I know what this is. I'm gonna just talk.
I'm one of those.
Yeah, yeah.
I just sit and listen.
Yeah. No, you're
I
definitely
know.
not one of those. Or you have the people that you can actually relate to,
Right.
actually open up to.
Right.
And there, because I know there's actual rules that therapists have to abide by, where there's certain things they can't share, or necessarily there's certain boundaries that they can't
Right.
cross with their clients. But to be able to know that that person has empathy,
Right.
that person has compassion, that person truly is, we're looking for clarity in a space to where,
and that person's not a robot.
Yeah,
They've
yeah.
had human experiences.
Exactly.
And they're not covering it up with
And that
cheap
they don't
clothing.
all have all the answers.
Yeah, and that's okay.
They're just giving you their perspective,
their expertise,
Yeah,
their wise counsel, their
so
experience.
then you can then make your own decision.
and their training. Yes.
So, and like I said, a great therapist doesn't have to necessarily
At all.
say much, because they'll just allow you, they'll guide, they're the
All
bumpers.
we do is guide,
Yeah.
and we just give different perspectives.
Right.
And we're supposed to be so honed in to you in sense of what you want, not projecting what we want for you.
Right.
Right? And detaching from that so we can drive you to where you want to be.
Right. And in that, I believe how do I say this? Because so many people are intrigued about just this environment, and they don't know. They see a man and a woman talking to each other, and oh, they arguing, oh, they disagreeing with each other. I'm on Dr. Bryant's side. I'm on Nick's side. It's not about whose side you're on,
Right.
And I think if we don't get into it in this session, definitely our next session, to where it's like, now that we've all taken accountability,
Right.
where do we go from here? How do we grow? How do we heal? How do we get to that space of, not just being a hybrid, but being as high functioning as we possibly can? So I think, in order for us to get there, in order to know where you're going, you got to know where you come from. So I think.
But you just got to know where you come from, and don't stay there.
Right.
Don't get stuck in the familiarity.
So where did Dr. Bryant know she couldn't stay any longer? Who?
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna keep it a stack. I know, or first met Cheyenne. I didn't know Dr. Bryant.
Right. What, 20 years ago? Nick?
Yeah, probably a little more than that, but around 20 years ago.
ago.
And again, just to disarm any haters or naysayers or any of that, you are very comfortable with sharing your journey and who you are and where you came from. And we've talked about everything from, your broken families and households, and, the Cheyenne that, people who grew. Where are you originally from?
San Pedro,
Yeah,
which is
that's
LA, a small community in the city
but
of
like
Los
even
Angeles.
on her block in San Pedro, she got a street named after her now, but she used to run them streets. But that's a great journey.
Yeah.
That's something to admire.
100%.
To say, like I said, I knew, like, I'm actually older than you,
Are you?
Yeah.
How old are you, Nick?
When this airs, I might be 44.
Oh, you are. You got me by what? Almost 2 years.
Yeah. So, but again,
okay.
I remember seeing you, and obviously being a very attractive young lady that was.
I don't date men with kids.
Yeah,
Don't try it. I just
ain't
playing
nobody try. I'm talking about back in the day.
When you had no kids?
Exactly. When I was probably more high functioning.
And you came in my retail store?
I came into her store.
And you try to act like you wanted to buy the store. Nick was,
Yeah, see,
Nick,
I was bossing. I was like,
Nick,
I could buy all this.
Yeah, he tried to use that low functioning behavior.
You was falling
and
for
it. Didn't work. We never went on a date, but I did love him as a person. He was super amazing.
But then to see you grow into the professional that you are, and then because there's people I've seen it questioning, is she a real doctor? Or how is this and what and then because there are so many people out there that I had the same conversation with Dr. Umar about people questioning his accreditations and his process and all of that stuff, which ultimately never really matters because when we get into these settings of who we are now, it's about helping others.
And titles and accolades doesn't create a person. So say Dr. Umar, me, Dr. Phil, whoever,
Dr.
right?
Sabi.
Dr. Sabi. My point is, take away the titles. Take away the doctor from my name. My mind is still Cheyenne. Take away the accolades. I still speak and perceive and articulate my values the way I do.
Right.
I don't believe in high functioning and low functioning because I got a doctor title.
Right.
Or I have 4 degrees, 3 that are in psychology, 1 that's in African studies.
Right.
So that's the titles don't make the person. And a person who is in their purpose is in their purpose. They're going to fulfill that space, whether they have accolades, a title or not. Indeed. I mean, Oprah doesn't have a title. And I'm just saying, Oprah has occupied a gigantic space. Tyler Perry don't have a title. He's occupying a huge space. Right? I mean, just to name a few.
But I think even in this space, because you being, an expert in the space of psychology, people are enamored by someone who that they believe can help them.
Right.
And we want to be able to feel like we're in a safe space. We want to be able to feel like we're in a trustworthy environment and that we're being led by, someone who's just not another opinion on the internet. And you do have, all of those accolades and have put in the work to receive, all the accreditation that you do have. So I only bring up all of that is because I would love to hear more about the journey of Dr. Cheyenne Bryant, how she went from low functioning to high functioning, how she went through the wilderness, and the things that, some people may think that you are ashamed of, but like however many times you've been engaged or what relationships you've been in or whatever past life that people may want to bring up, because I mean God forbid, but I just want to
past life.
I just want to almost take the power out of any of the hate that could be thrown your way so we can actually get to that space to where we're all having high functioning conversation.
So disclaimer, I don't really care how anybody feels or thinks about me.
Preach.
I've learned a really good balance of caring for people, but not giving a care for how they feel about me. That's what emotional intelligence is. And so I have a throttle, and I'm the only person that moves that. So someone's opinion about it doesn't move me. And so I usually don't even address it, but I am because we're talking about it here.
And I think it's healthy.
It is healthy. And I think people.
I deal with that, and sometimes I don't know how to handle it.
So for me, I just truly, and maybe that is part of my survival mechanism growing up as a young girl in the inner city, being okay looking, being the product of.
More than okay looking.
Okay, well, thanks, Nick. Being pretty, right? How do you say that?
Bad, being fly.
How do you say that and be humble at the same time?
Fine.
So being beautiful and being a product of, the biggest, street guy who had all the money, and we lived a certain lifestyle because of him, even though we were a middle class family, and having the ability to shot call because he can shot call, and being the only child for 10 years. So all of that has come with scrutiny and naysayers from the beginning.
Right.
And so I just, developed a really healthy defense mechanism that has allowed my skin to be tough but not callous, meaning people's opinions just don't move me. But what they have done, I've learned, and I had to be careful with this, they have allowed me to really, really thrive and really become an over accomplisher. So I've been more the person that says, okay, that's how you feel. And then bam, another house is bought. Bam, another show is done. Bam, another degree, another this, another whatever that looks like.
Right.
And that's been my way, I think, of responding. Because I've learned that no matter what you say to people who have an opinion about you, people with strong opinions are not in the field of buying your opinion, even of yourself. So it's best to let it be what it is. But for me, when I realized that, my mom's addiction, which is what created a lot of abandonment in me, was constantly being inflamed, was through my interactions in relationships with my fiancés. I don't have any ex-boyfriends, so with my fiancés. And me being in a relationship with somebody, I said this in our last session a couple months ago, with someone who came from a really healthy family, 2-parent household, parents were still married, a lot of love, not perfect, who had the bandwidth to just facilitate all of my dysfunction. And he didn't really bring in any dysfunction. He literally, in his words, was like a buffer for me. And he would say that to me. He would say, one day we were engaged, wedding plans and everything, engagement party already had. And he would say, one day you're going to leave me because I'm just a buffer. And I used to get really upset and be like, don't say that. You know what I mean? Like, you're not a buffer. I'm not going to leave you. That's not my intent. Like, we're getting married. And he was right. And even though he would say it or know it, he didn't exit. I caught off the relationship. And there were times where we would have disagreements and he would allow me to use him as a buffer. He would allow my pain to project out and hit him, not physically, but meaning verbally or stonewalling or through my actions or behaviors, and hurt people. And at that time, I didn't know I was such a hurt young girl. We were like 21, 22. I didn't know I was this really traumatized, toxic, young girl. And he literally would just, like you see at a soccer game, the goalie, he would just catch everything that was coming. And when we got to year like 6 or 7, as I started to evolve and getting my psychology degree and going through the schooling and really taking a inventory and taking, a introspection look within myself, his compassion and his love and his ability to stay high functioning and loving, Nick, while I was just in my pain and he was in it with me, it did something for me. It shifted me. He taught me what compassion looked like. He taught me what unconditional love felt like and looked like, despite all of my nastiness that my pain was bringing to him and myself.
Right.
And so in that, it was so beautiful how God would give you exactly what you need to transition to where he wants you to be. This man not once abandoned me, neglected me, or left me. I mean, I would just,
So why you leave him?
I would leave him, like, not physically move out the house, but
Right.
I would leave him multiple times in the relationship.
Right.
My abandonment would sabotage it. My abandonment would say, go away for nothing.
Right.
For my own inflammation. And randomly, I would become fear-based as a 22-year-old, 23-year-old girl. And I would create this narrative
Right.
that the little girl in me would tell me.
Yeah.
And I would start to bring that false narrative to our relationship.
Right.
And he would just facilitate. He would say, I'm never leaving you. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. And that's exactly what I needed to learn how to be that for somebody else. And as he would do that, I was watching Bishop Jakes one time in our relationship. And now this man is loving on me and he's being unconditional. And I'm watching Bishop Jakes say, the same grace that God has for you, right? That you have the nerve not to have for somebody else. Now I would rip this man a new one over nothing because he wasn't doing nothing. He wasn't a cheater. He was a family guy. He would work, come home to me. He had a beautiful family that was super supportive of our relationship. He just ate, slept, and pooped me. And he was handsome as hell. He's, big old football player, just, I mean, the boy next door.
Yeah.
And he would say to me, Nick, he would say, When you leave me, it's going to take you some time before you can be with the kind of man you really want to be with, meaning like a successful man, a healthy man. He said, because you're too insecure to be with a man of that caliber. And boy, I used to rip him a new one. That dysfunction came up like I'm insecure and I'm not. And long story short, he was right. And so when I called off the wedding, because I knew that I was a total disservice to him, I knew that he was in a very unhealthy, and even if it was just verbal or emotionally, but an abusive relationship with me. I apologized. There was a lot of crying on my end, on his end. And till this day, I have yet to have a safe space with a man like I had with him. Till this day.
Where is this man
To this day.
now?
Well, I mean, I don't want to be with him. I'm just
Why?
saying. I'm
He sounds
42.
fucking amazing.
I'm 42. We were 22 through 30
Go
at that
get
time.
that old thing back, Doc.
No. There's other moving parts that just won't work.
Is he married now?
He's not. He doesn't have kids.
Whoever you are, Mr.
Nah.
Football Man, the Doc still love you.
I do. I will always love him. I still pray for him. I love him. And not because I want to be with him.
That's what I say about my exes too.
Not because I want to be with him or because I'm in love with him, but because he deserves everything and more.
Sounds like super understanding.
Yeah, but through that, when I left,
sex was bad.
Amazing.
What is it? So what is
we
wrong?
asking about sex right now?
I'm trying to figure out why you would leave somebody who is so perfect.
Because
I understand the abandonment issues.
No. Well, so because, and here goes the naysayers, and y'all can judge me all you want because I don't care. But the truth of the matter is, I left his high-functioning self with some great emotional intelligence because he just became very, very comfortable in, I'm still trying to protect him because I don't want to say anything that is bad because he's such a good person. Very, very comfortable in being lazy and not wanting to.
You wanted someone who had a little bit more
anything.
ambition to match all of your ambitions.
Right. And so while we were together, I went through 2 degrees as undergrad. I got my master's in marriage, family, and child therapy. I had yet to start my doctorate. I wrote a book. I had a whole mobile legal company. I had a lot going on.
You was going to the high value place.
And it wasn't that
he was high functioning, but maybe didn't practice in the high values.
Exactly that. And it wasn't that he couldn't do it. In his words, he didn't have an interest in being that. So it wasn't that I was trying to push him and he said I can't. It was, I know he could. He shared it. He said, baby, I don't want that. Like, I'm good with just being in love with you, with the dog here and us, and we can be in a little shack.
Yeah.
And for me, coming from the inner city, we didn't come from a shack.
Yeah.
We were middle class, but I didn't want that. And so I had a dream, and that dream wasn't something that he wanted to actualize with me. And it wasn't no infidelity. It wasn't none of that. We just literally grew apart. And it didn't make the breakup easy. It made it harder because I didn't have the ammo to say
he didn't cheat on you, or he didn't disrespect you, so you didn't.
And as I would date years later, before I got engaged the second time, as I would date, I would go on dates, Nick, and I would leave, and I would call my best friend in the car, be like, "Girl, I think I made the biggest mistake in my life.
I had me a good man.
I'm like, these men out here are dry, and he would ask me to make sure I called. I made it home, and so I went through that hard transition. But
streets is cold.
It was cold for a minute, and then I got engaged again, right? But I say that to say he created just a safe space, and this is what happens in safe spaces, though. Everyone wants a safe space, and we all, I believe, want to create that for our partner. But what a safe space does is exactly that. It makes it safe, Nick, for you to be exactly who you are. So he had the right idea of, I'm creating a safe space so you can be who you are. That's why when I showed up in my good and my bad, he facilitated me equally in both. Right? But when we provide safe spaces for people and we get the dark, we're like, no. We become codependent. We need you to stay on the good side because I'm not trying to be in a relationship with your bad side. But that's not a safe space. That's compartmentalizing. And that's being codependent. I need you to be this way so I can be okay in this relationship with you. Because if you waver to the left, Nick, and you flee like you do, bye.
Right.
Versus, Nick, you safe. So when you flee, I'm here. When you stay, let's talk. You coming back? All right. Or I still need time.
Yeah.
But we're not leaving.
Right.
We're not leaving. And so he just taught me. And what I had to do was I had to learn, and I love these kind of relationships, the healthy ones. I had to learn his modality. And I've taken a lot of him and implemented that in me as a 42-year-old woman, because what he did was healthy. And what he did was actually strength. I wasn't in a place to do neither. I was just a wounded freaking little young woman trying to figure it out. Right. And he didn't help me figure it out by counseling me. Yeah. He helped me figure it out by teaching me through his behavior what real love looks like.
He didn't cancel you, he counseled you.
He counseled me. And he didn't dismiss me. He may not even know that until this day. You didn't dismiss me. Thank you. You delivered me. And because of that, and it sounds probably messed up to say this, but it's not. But because of that, my future husband, he gets a better me. Because of that, my children will get a mom who knows how to sit in the hot seat, who says, I can have this hard conversation, who learned how to regulate my sabotaging ways, who knows how to say, I'm really frustrated right now and I'm getting ready to say some things that's going to emasculate you and take you out. So I need about an hour. And I need you to let me have that hour so I can process before I produce with you. And we all need those people in our life. Some of those people show up as parents or friends. Not all of us are blessed to get them as I had as my partner. Yeah. And so, I will always be grateful for him. And I always pray over him. And I'm like, it would have been nice if it could have worked, but it wasn't meant to. It was the season to do what it did.
And it made you the person you are today.
And it's beautiful that I've had that. I was blessed to have that.
Right. So then I want to go back to, what the good Dr. Umar Johnson was saying about me, you, and Cam as well, that do you believe even in the way we function, even in attempting to be high-functioning, high-value individuals, that you did deal with some narcissistic behavior or tendencies in your process in dealing with relationships, because you are such a strong-willed, overachieving woman who has abandonment issues and wants to control herself in scenarios through these processes? And if Dr. Umar was right, how did you heal from that? How do you deal with it currently in your current scenarios?
So to address the first question, which was, do I believe that I have some narcissistic traits in my low functioning behavior? Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. For me to be able to emasculate that man, and he's just loving on me, he's never disempowered me. This man wasn't cheating or beating on me. He was there all day. Yeah. I mean, he was there. I just said I left him because he wouldn't work, so he was there all damn day. Literally, right? On the couch.
Following, he was your puppy dog.
Watching ESPN, loop the same plays over and over again, right? Cooking dinner. He wanted to be a house husband. That ain't my thing. And so, definitely narcissistic. It was,
and even in all your relationships, from that one to the other one, like.
So I think.
Do you struggle with the same things that I struggle with that,
let's identify them.
Self-understanding, that, or like self-importance?
Not at this level. Do I have a high level of self-love and self-value? Yes. Do I think that some of them can, depending on the person, be identified as narcissistic symptoms, not narcissistic diagnosis? Yes. Can my confidence be on steroids? Sometimes, because that's the way that I inspire me. Yeah. Does my self-talk show up externally sometimes? Yeah. Is my self-talk narcissistic? Abso-fucking-lutely. Absolutely. Do I talk to myself in a way that if people heard it, they'd be like,
who does she think she is?
Really?
Yeah.
Absolutely. But that's why it's called self-talk. Yeah. I think everyone needs to have that ability to talk themselves in and out of things. That's life.
Self-encouragement.
That allows,
self-motivate.
And that allows you to be interdependent and not codependent. That is your power. It is your mind. And your mind's here to serve you. And you have the right to have your mind serve you in any capacity that works for you. This is me. It's in here. Do I do a good job of balancing it to make sure it stays in here? Yes. But when I am in my circle of wealth, which are my best friends, Lola, Gina, and my mom and brother, I go into production at home in our house. I go into production. Yeah, I'm a big dog. I'm in there. Because those are my people.
Yeah.
I'm a big dog, and they're chanting too. Yeah, big dog. And so, and I also narcissistically speak life into them like that.
Yeah.
No, you're amazing. You're a big dog. What are you talking about? Like, you got this. No one's better than you. I wish they would. So I do that to them as well.
As motivation.
Is it for everybody? No.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that.
But that's how, just you saying
Wait, but
that,
do I take that into a relationship? Right? So do I come in and say, hey, we're in a relationship, Nick, or we're dating, and, you're
but
relevant.
your value in a relationship
yes,
too.
But I am much better at sharing the value. I'm much better at being compassionate, having the grace, and trying to be more understanding when I don't understand. That's where narcissists don't have that ability. Well, and there was a time where I didn't.
Yeah, that
in my
empathy,
earlier years.
and that compassion, and like I said, you sharing that very candidly and being as vulnerable, I know helped me. And it's helping me, and it's probably helping so many others, because going back to those conversations of high functioning and low functioning, like, again.
Right, but I want to ask you, do you see any parallels in me, you, and Cam's personalities? And I want to know, if so, what are they?
Yes. Confident people, or, as people, even when they talk about our discourse, or you and Cam's discourse, it's like, oh, that's an alpha male and an alpha female, ramming at each other.
But really quick, I love that. Do you feel like I showed up in my alpha with you, and hold on, my alpha with Cam, or did I show up in my feminine and I was just very vertical in who I was? I'm curious to see what your idea of this alpha thing is.
Well, because it's not even how you show up, it's just what you embody. You know what I mean?
But am I embodying alpha, or am I embodying just an extreme woman who's in tune with her femininity and solid and vertical in what she stands on?
Because that's what I was saying. Like, it all depends. Like, when, in our greeting and in our pleasantries, you're completely in your feminine.
So I'm a hybrid, like I said.
Yeah,
I'm a hybrid.
But when we get to the discourse starts to occur, then it's like, okay.
Perfect. You're going right where I want you to go. So that's called a hybrid.
Yeah.
In a relationship, right? Me in a relationship. When you're greeting me, she's soft and feminine.
Yeah. When
she sees there's a problem and I'm bucking at her, you're saying that's more the alpha.
Yeah.
So how does a man facilitate a hybrid, alpha submissive? Or does a man who's low functioning have to have a woman who's always in her submissive, because he's not solid enough and vertical enough within himself to facilitate or hang with her when she's in her high functioning, i.e. Nick calls alpha? So I'm asking you, how does that work? If I'm loving on you, because I'm in tune with being feminine, but I also can be strong, what does that do for a man who is either low functioning or high functioning?
I'm walking in my Libra frequency. That's who I'm all about. Yin and yang balance, in that sense of, like, I know I'm both. I know I'm just as much in touch with my feminine as I am with my masculine.
But do you flee the alpha part because she's not hollering, but she's strong in her approach or strong in her beliefs?
And that's where we will pause and talk about it all in the next session.
See, y'all, he's fleeing already. Look at this avoidant behavior. Avoidant behavior.
But not only because we're out of time, but in that sense, that is exactly what I want our third session to be. Because solution, I feel like we have regulated our emotions and now are really having true high functioning conversations. So I have some really sincere and honest questions about how we can continue to walk in that high function, continue to be an alpha, but continue to be
a hybrid
and submissive and understanding where we need to be. And I think, you've helped a multitude of people with just sharing your own testimony and your own growth from low functioning to high functioning in this session. And, next session, I got some questions, and hopefully, they will help me and help others. And we will continue to be counseled by the one and only Dr. Cheyenne Bryant.